April 15, 1943. The roiling waves of the Indian Ocean, 200 miles southeast of Ceylon. Salt spray stings your face like needles as the deck of HMS Vanguard heaves beneath your boots. The air reeks of diesel fumes and gunpowder, thick and choking, while the distant thunder of explosions rattles your bones. You are Sergeant James Harlan, a grizzled Royal Marine from Manchester, your khaki uniforms soaked through, gripping the railing with white-knuckled hands. Beside you, Corporal Thomas Reed, the wiry signals officer from Liverpool, shouts orders into the gale, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. "Hold the line! Anti-aircraft guns, fire at will!" Private Elias Crow, the youngest at 22, a farm boy from Devon, with freckles and a perpetual squint, fumbles with his Lee-Enfield rifle, his eyes wide as the night sky erupts in orange fireballs. The Japanese carrier strike has come without warning, a swarm of HED-3A dive bombers screeching down like vengeful spirits from the black horizon. HMS Vanguard, a sturdy light cruiser tasked with escorting troop transports to the Burmese front, twists violently as a torpedo slams into her starboard side. The impact throws you forward, your helmet clanging against the bulkhead. Water surges up through the hatches, cold and merciless, swallowing crates of ammunition and spare parts in its frothy maw. Alarms wail, a piercing, insistent klaxon that drowns out the screams of the wounded. "Abandon ship!" the captain bellows from the bridge, his megaphone amplifying the desperation. You scramble across the tilting deck, the ship listing 30 degrees now, her hull groaning like a dying beast. Reed grabs your arm, pulling you toward the lifeboats. "Harlan, we can't wait! She's going down fast!" Crow's face is ashen, his hands trembling as he helps lower a boat, but a secondary explosion rocks the forward magazine, torpedoes cooking off in a chain reaction. Flames lick the sky, illuminating the silhouettes of the attacking planes banking away for another pass. You feel the heat on your neck, smell the acrid burn of melting steel. The lifeboat swings wildly, ropes fraying under the strain, and in the pandemonium, you three end up separated from the main group, clinging to a section of shattered decking that breaks free as the cruiser plunges stern first into the abyss. The sea claims you in an instant. You hit the water feet first, the shock knocking the breath from your lungs. It's black as ink below the surface, the weight of your webbing gear, pistol, canteen, rations, dragging you down. You kick frantically, surfacing to the cacophony of bubbling wreckage and distant cries. "Reed! Crow!" Your voice is raw, swallowed by the waves crashing over your head. A piece of flotsam, a floating hatch cover, bobs nearby, and you lunge for it, hauling yourself up as the cold seeps into your marrow. There, Reed's head breaks the surface, 10 yards away, sputtering and cursing. "Over here, Sarge!" He paddles over, his uniform a sodden rag, while Crow emerges gasping from a swirl of debris, one arm bloodied from shrapnel. The three of you huddle on the makeshift raft, the Vanguard's bow vanishing in a final sucking vortex that sends a wave washing over you. Night falls heavy, the stars indifferent witnesses to the slaughter. Around you, the ocean is a graveyard, oil slicks shimmer on the waves, bodies float face down, and the faint moans of the injured echo before fading into silence. Your emergency kit yields a single tin of biscuits, a flask of water, and a signal mirror, but the destroyer escorts are miles away, steaming toward the horizon under the threat of more attacks. "We drift till dawn," you mutter, teeth chattering. Reed nods, wrapping his arms around his knees, while Crow stares into the void, whispering a prayer his mother taught him. Days blur into a haze of thirst and exposure. The sun beats down mercilessly by day, turning your skin to leather, while nights bring hypothermia's cruel embrace. You ration the biscuits to crumbs, licking dew from the wood when rain teases but doesn't deliver. Sharks circle the edges of your vision, fins slicing the water like knives, and once a massive shadow passes beneath, rocking your fragile perch. Reed's ingenuity shines. He fashions a fishing line from bootlaces and a hook from a belt buckle, snagging a small skipjack that you devour raw, its metallic tang a grim reminder of survival's cost. Crow fights infection in his wound, the salt water his only poultice,
and his fevered ramblings about home are the only spark of humanity in the endless blue. On the end of the first week, hallucinations creep in. You see phantom ships on the horizon, hear voices in the wind. The current carries you northwest, toward the Andaman Sea, but rescue feels like a cruel joke. Storms lash you with 40-knot winds, nearly capsizing your raft, and you tie yourselves together with strips of torn uniform to avoid separation. "We're not dying out here," Reed insists one dawn, his eyes hollow but defiant. You believe him because there's no alternative. The sea tests you, breaks you down to instinct. Hunt, endure, cling. On the 28th day, as the sun dips low and paints the waves in blood, a shadow looms on the horizon. Not British, not Allied. The sleek lines of a Japanese destroyer, the IJN Akikaze, cuts through the swells, her ensign fluttering like a predator's flag. Spotters on her deck shout in their tongue, and a boat is lowered. You exchange glances, capture or death. As they haul you aboard, rough hands binding your wrists, the metallic click of their Arasaka rifles echoing, you know the ordeal has only just begun. The deck vibrates underfoot as the ship powers away, toward unknown shores.
May 13th, 1943. The cramped hold of the IJN Akikaze slicing through the Andaman Sea toward the Malay Peninsula. The air down here is a fetid stew of sweat, rust, and the sour tang of unwashed bodies, lit only by a single swinging lantern that casts jittery shadows on the bulkheads. Your wrists chafe against the coarse rope bindings as you sit shoulder to shoulder with Reed and Crow on the cold steel deck, the ship's engines thrumming a relentless pulse through your bones. Japanese sailors, stern-faced men in faded blue uniforms, their Type 99 rifles slung casually, patrol the narrow corridor outside the grated door, barking orders in sharp bursts of Japanese that you strain to decipher from your basic training phrases. You, Sergeant Harlan, feel the ache of the sea still in your limbs, every muscle screaming from the month's ordeal. Reed, ever the quick thinker, has already begun probing for weaknesses, his eyes darting to the overhead vents and the loose rivets in the hatch. "Keep your heads down, lads," he whispers, his Liverpool accent a thin thread of comfort. "They're taking us somewhere inland. Burma, maybe. Play the part of broken men." Crow nods weakly, his bandaged arm throbbing under the rough dressing a guard slapped on during the boarding. The infection has ebbed, but fever lingers, making his skin hot to the touch. They stripped you of your weapons and boots, leaving you in tattered shirts and trousers, but your minds remain sharp, weapons in themselves. The interrogator arrives at dusk, a lieutenant named Hiroshi Tanaka, his uniform crisp with polished buttons, a katana sheathed at his side. He enters flanked by two guards, the lantern's glow highlighting the scar across his cheek from some forgotten skirmish. "Names and ranks," he demands in accented English, his voice like gravel. You comply. Harlan, Reed, Crow, offering nothing more, your faces masks of exhaustion. He circles you slowly, the air thick with tension, as if deciding whether to press for Allied convoy routes or dismiss you as worthless flotsam. Reed meets his gaze steadily, volunteering a scrap about the Vanguard's last position, just enough to seem cooperative without betraying secrets. Tanaka nods curtly, jotting notes on a pad, then gestures to the guards. A bowl of watery rice and fish heads is shoved through the bars, your first meal in weeks. You eat ravenously, the grains sticking in your throat, but it steadies you. Nights aboard are a torment of motion sickness and whispers. The Akikaze zigzags to evade submarines, pitching through swells that send bile rising. You talk in hushed tones when the guards slacken, plans half-formed, dreams of escape flickering like the lantern's flame. Crow shares stories of Devon orchards to lift spirits, his voice cracking with unshed tears. By day, they haul you topside for exercise, the tropical sun blistering your exposed skin as you march the deck under watchful eyes. You glimpse the crew's routine, look out scanning for aircraft carriers,
Radio operators hunched over sets, crackling with coded traffic. It's a glimpse into the enemy's world, and Reed files it away, his signals training itching for a way to turn it against them. After 5 days, the ship docks at Penang under a monsoon downpour, the harbor a hive of activity with junks and freighters unloading supplies for the front. Rough hands drag you onto the quay, where military police in khaki uniforms prod you into a lorry with other prisoners, Malayan locals, and a few Australians, all gaunt and silent. The drive inland is jolting, through rubber plantations lashed by rain, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and distant smoke. You arrive at the gates of a forced labor camp near the Thai border, a sprawling compound of bamboo barracks ringed by barbed wire and watchtowers. Guards with bamboo canes herd you through the mud, shouting, "Hayaku!" faster as you stumble into line. The camp commandant, a colonel with a neatly trimmed mustache, inspects the new arrivals from his veranda, his eyes cold as he notes your British insignia scraps. "You will work for the Emperor," he declares through a translator, a local collaborator with a nervous tic. "Rebuild the railway to Burma. Disobey and face the guards' justice." They assign you to a work detail, clearing jungle for the tracks, wielding picks and machetes under the relentless sun. Your barracks is a stifling hut with earthen floors shared with dozens, rats skittering in the thatch, the stench of dysentery ever present. Rations are meager, rice balls and fermented fish, supplemented by whatever insects you dare to snatch. In the first weeks, survival demands cunning. You befriend a Scottish POW, McTavish, who knows the guards' routines. Shifts change at dawn and dusk, patrols slacken during siesta. Reed spots opportunities in the camp's communications setup, a central radio shack where Japanese officers monitor Imperial Army dispatches. "If we can get close," he murmurs one night as thunder rumbles outside, "we might slip a message out, Morse code, hidden in plain sight." Crow, recovering, volunteers to feign illness for sympathy, earning lighter duties near the supply tents. You, Harlan, take the hardest labor to build trust, your calloused hands swinging the axe until blisters burst, all while mapping the camp in your mind, guard posts, fence weak points, the river that snakes nearby. One evening, as fireflies dance in the humid air, a guard catches you lingering near the perimeter. His cane cracks across your back, drawing blood, but you grit your teeth, eyes downcast. It buys you credibility, the loyal worker. Inside, resolve hardens. The war rages beyond these wires. News trickles in via smuggled BBC broadcasts on a hidden crystal set, tales of Allied advances in the Pacific. You're not just prisoners, you're waiting for the moment to strike back. As the monsoon eases into a sticky night, Reed scratches a simple code into the dirt floor, dots and dashes for Allied eyes watching, and you commit it to memory. The infiltration begins, subtle as a whisper in the wind.
June 1943, the sweltering heart of the forced labor camp near the Salween River, Thailand-Burma border. Dawn breaks with the crack of whips and the guttural shouts of guards rousing the prisoners from their sweat-soaked mats. The air hums with cicadas and the distant rumble of dynamite blasts along the railway line, where hundreds toil under the sun to carve a path through the jungle for Imperial supply trains. You, Sergeant Harlan, wipe the grime from your eyes as you shoulder your pickaxe, the wooden handle worn smooth by endless swings. Reed falls in beside you, his eyes scanning the work detail for the radio shack operator, a lanky Japanese corporal named Sato, who often lingers during breaks, fiddling with his cigarette lighter near the supply dump. The camp pulses with forced rhythm. Bamboo whistles signal meal times when thin gruel is doled out in dented bowls, and nights bring the feverish moans from the infirmary tent, where malaria claims lives like clockwork. You've settled into the routine, your body leaner, harder, marked by scars from cane lashes and insect bites. Crow, now assigned to kitchen duty after his recovery, slips you scraps of information, guard rosters overheard while scrubbing pots, the commandant's fondness for sake that loosens tongues after dark. Sato's shift overlaps with the evening dispatch, Crow mummers one afternoon as you pass in the latrine line, his voice low under the patter of rain on the roof. He's sloppy with the logs. Reed's plan takes shape in stolen moments. The Radio Shack, a prefab hut camouflaged by vines, houses a Type 94 set, its antenna strung between palms to relay orders to forward bases. Access comes through guile. You volunteer for latrine duty near the officers' quarters, earning a nod from the foreman for your reliability. One humid evening as thunderheads gather, Reed feigns a twisted ankle during rail laying, drawing Sato's attention. The corporal, kinder than most, helps him to the shade, and in that brief exchange, Reed compliments the man's English, picked up from pre-war trade ships, and shares a fabricated tale of a lost family heirloom, a pocket watch etched with coordinates that might interest a mapmaker. Sato bites, intrigued, and over the next days, small trades begin. A pilfered cigarette for a glimpse inside the shack during maintenance. You watch from afar, heart pounding as Reed slips in under the guise of assisting with wiring repairs, his signals expertise masking as mechanics' know-how. The interior is a clutter of dials and notebooks, the air thick with ozone from the valves. Under Sato's wary eye, Reed adjusts a loose connection, his fingers brushing the Morse key. In that instant, he taps out a burst. Short, long, short. A simple Allied recognition code embedded in what sounds like routine static. Convoy routes compromised. Camp coordinates 14N98E. Eyes on rail progress. It's disguised as interference from the storm, but if a British listening post catches it, perhaps a submarine off the coast, it could alert command to the Death Railway's vulnerabilities. The risk electrifies you. That night in the barracks, you three huddle under a shared blanket, the oil lamps flickering low. If it got through, Reed whispers, his face gaunt in the shadows, we've bought time for the next push. Crow nods, passing around a hoarded beetle nut to chew, its bitter juice sharpening your senses. But doubt gnaws. Sato eyes Reed suspiciously the next day, questions about the storm noise probing during a smoke break. You deflect by taking on extra shifts, hauling ties through the muck, your muscles burning as leeches latch onto your calves. The jungle presses in, vines like snares, monkeys chattering mockery from the canopy. Weeks grind on, the railway snaking forward mile by mile. Allied bombs shake the horizon occasionally, distant puffs of smoke from strokes on supply depots, fueling whispers of hope among the prisoners. You expand the network. McTavish, the Scot, smuggles paper scraps from the commandant's waist, and a Tamil worker named Raj slips you news from village runners. Japanese troop movements toward Imphal? Reed crafts war messages, hidden in laundry tallies or tool inventories passed to Sato, who now sees him as a useful informant, trading intel for favors like extra water rations. One pivotal dispatch comes on a moonless night. Sato, tipsy from looted whiskey, invites Reed to verify a signal log. As lightning flashes outside, Reed keys in coordinates for a key bridge site, appending a warning. Explosives cache at mile 105. Sabotage imminent. Your heart races in the shadows outside, guards patrolling just yards away, their bayonets glinting. The transmission ends clean, no alarms raised. Back in the hut, Crow bandages a fresh cut on Reed's hand from the wire, his eyes alight. We're ghosts in their machine now, you say, the words tasting like victory amid the rot. But the web tightens, rumors swirl of a security crackdown after a nearby camp escape. Infiltration demands balance. Serve the Emperor today, undermine tonight. Each code a thread in the larger tapestry of resistance.
July 1943. The relentless drum of monsoon rains on the camp's tin roofs, turning the ground to a quagmire that sucks at your boots with every step. The railway pushes deeper into the Tenasserim Hills, bridges rising like skeletal fingers over ravines, guarded by machine gun nests and razor wire. You, Harlan, lead a detail bridging a tributary, the river below churning brown with silt, while Reed works the signal crew, his position solidified by Sato's growing trust. The air smells of wet bamboo and decaying vegetation, undercut by the sharper scent of gun oil from the overseer's rifles. Crow's role evolves. Kitchen access yields more than food. He palms maps from officers' leavings, sketches of troop dispositions toward the Indian border.
"They're massing for a big offensive," he reports one evening, ink-stained fingers tracing lines in the dirt as you three confer in the shadows of the tool shed. The codes multiply. Reed embeds them in routine weather reports or equipment requests, Morse disguised as key clicks during legitimate transmissions. One message details a munitions convoy's route, rerouted after your tip, Allied PT boats intercepted off the coast, the explosion's echo reaching you in camp gossip. But success breeds peril. Sato promotes Reed to assistant operator, a double-edged sword granting proximity but scrutiny. You cover by excelling in labor, felling teak with an adze, your swings precise to avoid suspicion, building a reputation as the unbreakable Brit. Nights bring strategy sessions. You plot weak points in the rail, like the Hellfire Pass cutting, where dynamite stores tempt sabotage. McTavish joins fully now, his engineering know-how plotting how to spike tracks without detection. A crucial mission crystallizes mid-month. Intercepted whispers via a smuggled radio reveal Japanese plans for a supply dump at the pass, fuel drums for panzers rolling south. Reed crafts the code, dump vulnerable, coordinates, 13.5 N, 99 E, strike window, full moon. Tapping it out during a night shift, his hand steady despite the sweat beading on his brow, you stand guard outside, heart hammering as a patrol passes within earshot. The transmission clears, and days later, RAF liberators roar overhead, bombs walking the jungle in fiery blooms. The camp erupts in chaos, guards executing stragglers in rage, rations cut as reprisal. But you three endure, feigning shock. The infiltration deepens your bond. Crow risks a bold move, spiking soup with laxative herbs from Raj, felling a squad of guards for a night of lax security. You use it to scout the armory, noting grenade placements. Yet cracks show. Sato confronts Reed about anomalies in logs, his eyes narrowing over sake. "You send messages to ghosts?" he probes. Reed laughs it off as static, but tension coils. The war's tide shifts. News of Guadalcanal's fall filters in, demoralizing the Japanese, tightening whips on prisoners. You push on, each code a lifeline, turning captives into covert warriors in the Emperor's own backyard.
August 1943. The oppressive heat of the dry season creeping in, dust devils swirling along the half-built tracks as the railway nears the Three Pagodas Pass. The camp's barbed perimeter feels tighter, floodlights sweeping the wire after recent incidents. Escapes thwarted, informants executed by firing squad at dawn, their bodies left as warnings. You, Harlan, bear fresh welts from a beating after a tool went missing. Your back, a map of purple bruises, but pain sharpens focus. Reed's shack duties intensify, decoding imperial ciphers that hint at reinforcements from Singapore, while Crow navigates the infirmary now, treating wounds with smuggled quinine to keep the network alive. The risks mount like storm clouds. One dawn as you hammer spikes into sleepers, a guard spots you lingering near a supply cart. Inside, pilfered wire for Reed's next ploy. His bamboo cane whistles, splitting your lip, blood mixing with sweat as you drop to your knees. "No talk," he snarls, but you swallow the copper taste, eyes down. That night, Reed uses the wire to rig a shortwave boost, amplifying a message on Allied sub-positions to disrupt Japanese patrols. The static crackles through the humid air, and for a heart-stopping moment, a superior officer enters, demanding silence. Reed blames a faulty valve, but suspicion lingers like smoke. Crow's close call comes during a typhus outbreak, the infirmary a tent of despair with flies buzzing over the dying. He slips a coded note into a medical supply crate bound for a forward unit, troop strength low, morale cracking. But a search uncovers anomalies. Interrogators drag him to the stockade, bamboo slivers under nails, the threat. You and Reed bribe a collaborator with hoarded gold from a downed airman, securing his release as fever delirium. Bruised but unbroken, Crow returns, whispering, "They almost broke me, but the cause holds." Allied responses bolster you. A precision strike craters a viaduct you'd flagged, halting construction for weeks. Guards in frenzy executing 5 for sabotage. U3 evade the purge by blending. Extra labor, bowed heads. But the noose tightens. Sato pulls Reed aside one evening, katana drawn halfway. I hear whispers of betrayal. Prove loyalty. Reed complies, feeding false convoy data, buying time. In the canopy shadow, under stars piercing the mosquito net, you plan escalation. Infiltrate the command center for high-level codes. Every brush with death forges steel in your resolve. The jungle, an ally in your shadow war.
September 1943. The railway's iron spine now threads the mountains, bridges groaning under test trains laden with artillery bound for the Imphal front. Camp life grinds on. Dysentery culls the weak, but your trio thrives on purpose, bodies scarred but spirits unbowed. Reed deciphers a major dispatch, Japanese buildup for Operation Yugo, thousands marching to invade India. The code you send, Invasion Force, 85,000, routes via rail, target bridges, reaches SOE operatives via a downed pilot's radio relay, prompting RAF carpet bombing that shatters a span, derailing cars in a cascade of fire and twisted metal. The backlash is swift. Commandant doubles patrols, introduces loyalty oaths under duress. You, Harlan, volunteer for bridge repair, axe in hand amid the wreckage. Overhearing officers panic, supplies delayed, Führer's eastern allies pressing for aid. Sato, loyalty frayed, confides in Reed, doubts about the war's course, whispers of surrender rumors from Tokyo. Reed exploits it, slipping questions into conversations, extracting details on codebooks. Crow, from the stores, sabotages subtly, rust-inducing salt in ammo crates, slowing the war machine. A pivotal mission unfolds under cover of eclipse. Reed accesses the cipher room, you creating diversion with a staged fight among prisoners, drawing guards away. In the dim hut, he photographs keys with a smuggled microfilm camera from McTavish, tapping a burst, cipher patterns acquired, decrypt infall plans. As totality passes, you regroup, the film hidden in a false tooth. Allied codebreakers at Bletchley crack it weeks later, forewarning Montgomery's defenses. The battle turns, Japanese stalled, your invisible hand tipping scales. Exhaustion weighs, but triumph glimmers. The infiltration, born of desperation, now shapes history's arc.
October 1943. Autumn winds whisper through the bamboo, carrying chill from the hills as the railway nears completion, a vein pumping imperial might. Tensions peak. Guards execute a spy ring, heads on pikes lining the path. Sato's paranoia boils. He tails Reed, catching a whispered exchange with you about signals. Confrontation erupts in the shack. "Traitor," he hisses, pistol drawn. Reed disarms him in a blur, binding him with wire, but the gunshot alerts others. Chaos ensues. You and Crow burst in, subduing 2 more, but alarms wail. Escape plan activates. Pre-cut wire, hidden trail to the river scouted by Raj. You flee into the jungle, Sato's muffled cries fading, packs with rations and a stolen radio. Pursuit crashes behind, dogs baying, flares arcing. Bullets whip branches as you ford streams, leeches and thorns, allies against trackers. Reed broadcasts a final code from a ridge. Camp compromised, infiltrators exfiltrating. Rail status, operational but vulnerable. Allied subs rendezvous off the coast, but the trek tests limits. Crow twists an ankle, fever returning. You fight off a scout with bare hands, neck snapping in the undergrowth. Nights blur in delirium, stars guiding north. Airdrop supplies, morphine, ammo, mark friendly territory. The edge of betrayal hones you. Survival now means reaching lines to testify, codes etched in memory. The jungle yields you up, battered victors in the shadows.
November 1943. The dense thickets of the Donner Range, miles from the camp, where Allied forward observers lurk in hidden outposts. Rain lashes as you stumble into a clearing, Reed's radio crackling to life on scavenged batteries. Guards' echoes distant but closing. You've bought days, but not weeks. Crow, pale and limping, urges, send it all before they catch us. The final transmission, a torrent of intel, rail completions, troop dispositions, cipher remnants, poured into Morse, the key clicking like fate's hammer. As dots and dashes fly, a Japanese patrol crests the ridge, rifles chattering. You return fire with the stolen Arasaka, bullets splintering bark. Reed finishes the send, smashing the set to deny evidence. Then you bolt, diving into ravines, using vines as ropes. A grenade explodes nearby, shrapnel grazing your side, hot and wet. Crow covers the rear, his shot felling a pursuer, but a bullet clips his shoulder. The chase peaks at a waterfall. You leap, waters turning, emerging downstream to Chindit patrols who haul you aboard jeeps. Debrief in a jungle base. Your codes unravel Japanese logistics, stalling, you go, saving thousands. Sato's betrayal averted wider purge. The railway, though built, becomes a liability, bombed relentlessly. U3, heroes in rags, toast with captured sake, the infiltration's legacy, a month's sea hell transmuted to war's turning point.
December 1943 through 1945. Evacuated to Calcutta, medics stitch your wounds in a bustling hospital tent, the Ganges' muddy flow a serene counter to the chaos. Interrogators devour your accounts, codes feeding ultra-decrypts that cripple imperial supply lines. The railway, your nemesis, falls to sabotage. Bridges topple under demo charges from OSS teams, inspired by your tips. Battles rage, Imphal holds, Kohima bleeds the enemy, your whispers amplifying the roar. Recovery bonds you, Reed trains signals recruits, Crow farms again in Devon dreams, you rise to captain, lecturing on covert ops. VE Day comes, then atomic fire over Japan. Surrender, broadcast on August 15, 1945. You witness the camp's liberation in newsreels, guards fleeing, prisoners cheering. Sato, captured, faces trial, but claims coerced ignorance. Your story, classified till 70s, inspires films, but the scars remain. Nightmares of waves, the keys click. The war ends, but endurance echoes, in memorials, in lives rebuilt. 3 men from the sea, adrift no more, their secret mission, a testament to human fire against tyranny's tide.